It occurred in 2008 in a small village north of Hiroshima, Japan. That was my real-life experience as a child. That year, during the National Day holiday, my father drove from Shimane to take me and my mother home to see my grandmother. I was only 10 years old at the time, and I loved the countryside. I was fascinated by everything there. I kept asking questions and making my parents uncomfortable throughout. We drove for more than 4 hours and arrived in a village around 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Grandma's house was still a typical country house at the time, with a large yard and 2 rooms, 1 main house and 1 warehouse. At the time, I could only visit her twice a year, once for National Day and once for the Lunar New Year, so my grandmother was desperate for me to return. But I was not used to her zeal because I hadn't seen her since I was a child, and I was not particularly close to her. When we entered the house, Grandma and my parents were discussing their daily life. I looked for a chance to get away from her grip. I would never dare to go out by myself, so I climbed the ladder to reach the warehouse roof. There were only high-rise buildings in the city. As for standing here and being able to see the entire village, it felt very new to me, so I stood here and looked around. I suddenly felt chills behind me as the sky darkened. I had the impression that someone was keeping an eye on me. I looked behind unconsciously and I felt a shadow passing behind me. I quickly turned around and saw a shirt hanging on a bamboo pole next to the chimney. The roof of Grandma's warehouse connected to the neighbor's house, and the clothes were on the neighbor's roof. But this wasn't a problem for me. My parents and I fell asleep after dinner that night because we were tired. But unexpectedly at midnight, I had a nightmare. I was not sure why the shirt hanging on the roof of my neighbor's house appeared in my dream. In the black mist, that piece of shirt kept getting closer to me, and it was becoming clearer and clearer. As I looked closer, I noticed a figure dressed in clothes hanging from a bamboo pole. I gradually realized that the man was an elderly man, his face contorted in pain, and he was terrified. The old man got closer and closer until he was right in front of me, his mouth wide open, as if he wanted to scream at me. I could feel him screaming, but I couldn't hear anything. The old man pressed his mouth to my ear and made strange buzzing noises, and I had no idea what he was trying to say. I had the impression that he shouted for a long time in the dream, but I couldn't understand a single word. I was not sure how long the situation would last. I could feel my awareness fading. Then I heard my parents' voices calling out to me. I struggled to open my eyes, seeing my parents' worried expressions in front of me. "Wake up, my son," my father said. It turned out that I was screaming while sleeping. So many strange things happened at once. My father asked, "What happened to you? You kept screaming in your dream and your body is sometimes hot, sometimes cold." My parents were concerned about me and woke me up. I was feeling strange on the inside, so I told them about my dream. After that, I fell asleep again until dawn when I woke up. I overheard my mother said that I appeared to be dreaming again. My parents didn't think much of it at the time, but they had to inform my grandmother anyway. Surprisingly, as soon as my grandmother heard it, she became enraged, as if she knew what had caused it. However, my grandmother did not say anything clearly at the time, but instead walked out the door and began cursing. Grandma was a typical rural old woman. When she was angry, her words were difficult to bear, and my parents were powerless to stop her. Grandma scolded the neighbors, sounding like she was scolding an old man. Grandma's scolding was becoming increasingly louder. Her language was becoming increasingly unbearable, and this was the first time I had seen her so enraged. "If I hadn't made your ancestors' graves for you, you wouldn't be where you are now," my grandmother exclaimed. To be honest, we didn't know what was going on, but I thought Grandma scolding like this was extremely inappropriate. Dad approached her and drew her into the house because we didn't want her yelling at the neighbors any longer. We all found it strange that Grandma's anger remained after she was dragged back. My father inquired about what had happened and why my grandmother was so enraged. Grandma drank 2 sips of water and then told us a story about the neighbor's house. It turned out that the neighbor's house was previously considered a poor household in the village, but the house was recently purchased and relocated for more than a year. Once upon a time, this family had an elderly man who lived with his son and daughter-in-law. That family's daughter-in-law was a fierce woman, especially unfaithful, lazy all day and forcing her father-in-law to work hard. He was also old and frail. It was said that when he was younger he was terrified of his wife. When his wife died, he let his daughter-in-law rule and he worked very hard. His daughter-in-law once asked him to go to the river to water vegetables at noon. He started to be dizzy as a result of heat stroke. He couldn't stand, so he fell into the river, wouldn't get up, couldn't get up, and eventually drowned. The old man died just like that. Looks like he had a grudge that he couldn't swallow, because when he died, one eye was closed and the other was wide open, as if he was unwilling. Ever since that day, there had been rumors about ghosts appearing in the neighbor's house. Nearly every night his daughter-in-law's screams could be heard by his neighbors. It was said that the daughter-in-law dreamt of the old man every night, wanting her to follow him, and that every night she woke up startled, unable to sleep. Then, not knowing where she learned how to solve it, she found an old shirt worn by the old man when he was still alive. She put it on a bamboo pole and erected it on a chimney. According to a legend, this allowed the old man's ghost to bask in the sun like fire during the day, and at night it was as cold as an ice pillar. When my parents heard what my grandmother said, they were all enraged because of such a daughter-in-law. My mother exclaimed that she was to blame, and my father agreed, saying, "It's a shame that the old man can't be at peace until he died." Grandma didn't say anything else after seeing my father and mother react so angrily. Things went on like that. I had no problems, and my grandmother urged my parents to go back to the city. Grandma was concerned that I would be injured again. Every time I returned to my hometown, I discovered something new and liked a lot of things. But after that incident, I was a little scared. When I left, I discovered that shirt still hanging on the side of the chimney, and I was not sure if the old man was a living ghost.